Thank you.
Come closer. Don't be afraid. Don't be shy.
Hey, listen.
Right
You
here.
don't want to be that close to hate.
Here we go.
Hi guys, how are you?
Sorry.
Any questions?
You said inside that if you were found guilty, you would no longer publish your ward news, though you were convicted in January, and in March, your ward news appeared on people's mailboxes.
No, what I meant to say, and again it was off the cuff, is that if the judge rules and gives me anything other than an absolute discharge, because the judge could still give me an absolute discharge. If he gives me an absolute discharge, it's as if there's no conviction there, then we can keep publishing. I'm asking the judge to sentence us to an absolute discharge because it causes the community more harm than good. Sorry, for me to be shutting down the paper. The paper is a necessary relief valve for angry men that need their voices heard. There's a lot of disenfranchised men in our society that require your ward news. I have the example of Jonathan, who was with me today, who was blinded by a physician.
Dr. David Bennett again?
Yeah, and we were the only newspaper that published Jonathan's story.
City TV would not publish my story.
He had planned on pouring acid into the doctor's face in order to blind him, and he chose not to do it because our newspaper advocated for it. We have a lot of similar stories from men that are upset, and we've prevented a lot of violence in this community. We are a necessary release valve.
Yeah, but the question was, you were found guilty of willfully promoting hatred against Jewish people and women, and yet you still continue to circulate a newspaper to homes, continuously promoting the same thing. So how do you justify that?
We haven't published a newspaper since we were found guilty.
How did it end up in people's mailboxes in March?
Because the newspaper had already gone out for distribution. So that newspaper
It takes 2 months for newspapers to be delivered?
Oh, it does for sure, 100% it does. It takes time for a newspaper to be delivered. It takes approximately 2 to 2.5 months for a newspaper to be delivered.
If it were up to you, you would continue to send this out.
And the Canada Post would do in 5 days. When you're using volunteers and private delivery, it takes weeks to get it out. Yeah.
If it were up to you, you would continue to circulate your ward news.
If His Honor gives us absolute discharges, yes, we would. And I believe it's the right thing for His Honor to do, because the purpose of circulating the paper partially is to create to open discussions which are important, which are in the public interest. And number two, the second most important reason why the paper is circulated is to act as a release valve for people who feel disenfranchised or who may otherwise act out violently.
But the discussions that you say you're creating, now a judge has said they're against the law, and people that you're sending the paper to are people saying, I don't want it.
No, the judge actually is saying that the discussions are against the law, and we feel that the judge has erred in that regards. This is part of the reason why my Section 11F rights have been violated. Under Section 11F of the Charter of Rights and Freedoms, I have the right to a jury trial if the sentence is greater than 5 years or something worse. Court, in the case of Sears versus the Queen, the Supreme Court ruled that banishment from the community is considered worse than jail. If His Honor finds us guilty, you are correct. All of our ideas, our free flow of ideas, have effectively vanished from across Canada. Therefore, de facto, we were entitled to a jury.
Your paper has said that without ripping, without blood, without bruising, it's not rape. How do you explain that?
First of all, those comments are taken out of context, and those comments were made, if I remember correctly, by my performance artist, alter ego, Dimitri the Lover, whose job it is to inflame feminists so that we open a discussion. That's what the purpose of the article is. And clearly within any of the articles I've said that anyone who commits crimes should be held accountable for them. Clearly, there's a difference between opening up a discussion using inflammatory rhetoric and actually trying to promote hate.
What kind of
Hey,
discussion
but hold on
can
a
you
second.
open up about the Holocaust?
I'm sorry, hold on. Wasn't Christ anti-Semite?
Yes, Christ was an anti-Semite. That's correct.
James, would you say that free speech replaces violence as a form of expression?
Yes, it does. Yes, it does. Any other questions?
Will you continue to publish the paper?
Sorry?
Will you continue to publish the paper?
Only if His Honor permits me to. I am not going to break any orders from His Honor to stop publishing. Of course I'm not going to do that. And I will honor the spirit of whatever His Honor rules today. Obviously, I'm not going to start a newspaper called My Ward News to circumvent an order. I'm a law-abiding citizen, and I thought I was within my rights under common law free speech to express my opinions. Clearly, His Honor dissents. Clearly, His Honor disagrees, and I do respect His Honor.
Well, don't you consider this to be a matter of freedom of the press?
Yes, it is. I also have protections, separate protections as freedom under freedom of the press. There's separate charter protections in that regards, and I am pursuing that avenue in regards to a constitutional challenge. I also am pursuing the avenue of a constitutional challenge in regards to being denied my right to a jury.
Very good.
How do you feel joining people like James Joyce and D.H. Lawrence and others are being persecuted for your writings, for your satire? I mean, you are probably Canada's best satirist since the Second World War, and here you are on trial for literature. We're back to banned in Boston.
Yeah, I had made the argument in my allocution, and I believe I had the right to fully allocate. I was not given that. I mean, I thank His Honor for at least allowing me some time to disseminate the essence of my allocution. But in the old days, a jester in the king's court had the right to mock the king. If the people were starving, he would be the only one with permission to tell the king he'd become a bit too rotund whilst his people were starving. I believe that that's the purpose Your Ward News serves. Our job is to say things that maybe other people can't say in order to open the discussion. And I want to leave it at that. Okay?
You've said these charges are politically motivated.
Right.
Would you say then in that case that the judge's conviction was politically motivated as well?
I'm not going to speak for the judge. I'm going to assume that the judge is not compromised in any way. I have no reason to believe that.
Good day, James.